Introducing Meta Ray-Ban Display, the world's most advanced AI glasses. With a full color display built into the lens of the glasses, it's there when you need it and gone when you don't. Send and receive messages, translate or caption live conversations, collaborate with Meta AI, and more. Be one of the first to try Meta Ray-Ban Display. Visit meta.com/Meta Ray-Ban Display to book a demo and find your pair.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
Dr. Raj.
Dr. Raj. Dr. Raj Dasgupta.
The most interesting pulmonologist in the world.
Welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast, a show all about empowering knowledge, addressing difficult topics, raising awareness, and being positive. Dr. Raj is a quadruple board-certified physician, associate professor of clinical medicine, and the associate program director of internal medicine residency. He was a co-host on the TNT series Chasing the Cure with Ann Curry, as well as a regular on the TV show The Doctors. And now, here's our show.
Hi, and welcome to the Dr. Raj Podcast. And what is this a podcast of? Of happiness, wellness, great people, amazing stories. And today's podcast is about a guilty pleasure for many people. And you know what it is? It's wine. It's one of mine. And today I have the perfect guest. His name is Jesse Katz, and he has a wine on the Wine Spectator Top 100 Wines in the World for 2024. That's pretty kick butt right there. And also, I kind of twisted his arm to be doing a little Q&A with questions from you folks who are my listeners. But I want to read his bio first. You know the routine, everyone. So, early adventures to legendary vineyards and wineries around the world with his family and father, photographer Andy Katz, gave Colorado native Jesse Katz a profound respect for the creativity and art of winemaking. It was through his father's work that Jesse recognized and fell in love with the importance of terroir, balance, and the beauty of a winemaker's influence, setting him on a path he has pursued ever since. Today, Jesse creates distinct and nuanced wines for his brands, aperture cellars, and double-proof vineyards, while serving as a consulting winemaker for some of the world's elite wine programs. Since his debut as a first-generation talent out of college, he has emerged as one of the most exciting and accomplished winemakers globally. And with that being said, Jesse, how are you doing, my friend?
What an intro. I need to hire you to intro me anywhere I go. It's an honor.
I love it. Did you see the hand motions and everything? I got really into
I don't know
it.
if the guests will be able to see that, but I drew me in.
Well, if you would have dressed up for my podcast, maybe I would have televised it. You know what I mean?
I'm a winemaker, man. I'm a farmer when it comes down to it.
I dig it. So, you know what? Let's kind of break this podcast up into a couple segs. You know, we're going to have the meet and greet. We're going to have dorky medical, and then we're going to have the Q&A. So I want to jump into it. So, okay. Jesse, how did you get into winemaking?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a unique story in the wine space because I am the first winemaker in my family. I'm a first generation winemaker. And my introduction to your wonderful introduction and bio read earlier was through my family's and my father's work in particular as an artist, even though I was a kid from Colorado. And my father has been a photographer his entire career. And he was doing album covers for rock and roll bands and Doobie Brothers and Dan Fogelberg. And we were based in Colorado, but most of my childhood was traveling all over the world. And we, as a family, had traveled to over 80 countries by the time I left for college. But in my early teens, he really started doing projects in wine regions. And he had never done a book. And he was flown out to Napa and Sonoma to capture beautiful photos of the vineyards and wineries out here in the late 80s, early 90s, for a restaurant that was opening up a very wine-focused concept in Vail, Colorado. And my dad was just introduced to some really influential people, folks like Robert Mondavi, who certainly is an icon in this area. And my father had never done a book in his career. And Mr. Mondavi saw my father's beautiful artwork of some of his vineyards, but many others as well, and convinced my father to do his very first book. And that was called The Portrait of Napa and Sonoma. Mr. Mondavi did all the writing and introduction to that book. And that really skyrocketed my father's career into the wine space. He's now done 18 books, 12 of which have been on wine. And as a kid, after Napa and Sonoma, which was much less interesting to me at the time because I'm a kid, everyone's talking about this and no one's offering anything to me. But as soon as we get to Burgundy, Bordeaux, Tuscany, all of a sudden wine glasses start to show up in front of me. And at 12 years old, I have my first sip of wine, introduced to it as part of the food and part of the culture of the region, and was truly enamored in the culture of it and how, a single plot of land or region has such a distinct interaction with that final product was really fascinating to me at a very early age. And I'm still a kid from Colorado. Never in my wildest dreams do I think wine is going to be a career. So I have no idea what I want or can do. And so I left Colorado and moved to California for a business degree, trying to figure out what my career path was going to be. And my first summer in Santa Barbara, I interned at a winery because I thought that might be my only opportunity to work in a winery. And I started, I was the grunt man. I was 18 years old, cleaning floors, made my way into the laboratory and eventually into the vineyard, and saw that there was actually degrees in the wine space, viticulture and the wine grape growing, enology, the fermentation science focusing on wine. And there was people surrounding me that were not born into this industry, that went in their first generation winemakers as well. And so that first summer internship, I started focusing on becoming a winemaker. And I feel very fortunate. I knew exactly what I wanted to do at 18 years old. Ended up getting my degrees in viticulture, enology, and chemistry from Fresno State, which has one of the great wine programs in the world, full working winery on campus, where I actually got to go and learn to make wine, not just in the classroom, but certainly get my hands and feet dirty out there. And that's where I fell in love with Bordeaux varietals and started traveling the world and surrounding myself with the best of the best, and worked in Argentina and Bordeaux, throughout California, and always focusing with truly surrounding myself with some of the great wineries, great estates, and great vineyards. And really fortunate that I just learned and had some amazing mentors and started my first brand, Aperture, in 2009 while I was still living and working in Napa as the assistant winemaker at Screaming Eagle. And that is now turned into the winery that I'm sitting at right now. And it's just been a wonderful journey.
Well, oh my God. Well, with all that, I guess my next question is going to be, the biggest challenges, but you have a lot of mentors, but there's a lot of people in your space. So is one of the biggest challenges, and you answer it, is it being competitive? And just talking to you, you seem like such a nice person. Like, do you have to be like the cutthroat winemaker to be in the top of the list? You know what I mean? To make that top 100?
It is a competitive space, no doubt. But I would say the people who get into the wine industry, for the most part, are really passionate about this craft. There's a lot of easier ways to make money than getting into the wine space, I'll tell you that. And so the people who are in here are really passionate about, and we truly understand. If you go to my cellar, if you're sitting at my dinner table, I am not only drinking my wines. I love to taste wines of multiple different regions, varietals, styles, winemakers, and so on. And that's truly how most of the people feel. And so I think for the most part, it is a very supportive industry. And if you have someone who's first generation like myself, I can't tell you how much support that I got for some people that started to see my young talents early on and have really kind of supported me out throughout my entire career. And I hope to do the same for individuals now. And like the challenges, there's enough challenges in the wine industry, no doubt. But I would say the biggest one, we're dealing with Mother Nature still. Like truly, I made a joke that I'm ultimately a farmer. It is very, very true. And what Mother Nature can throw at us from extreme weather patterns, whether that's extreme rains, heat spikes, certainly the forest fires that we've had, and definitely thinking about our neighbors and friends in LA right now. But all those things certainly can affect how we can grow grapes and what we can make. And one of the intentions that I think has really separated Aperture from many other brands out there. We're a Cabernet house for the most part, which is kind of a later ripening varietal. And if California luxury world, most people think of Napa Valley. And for a great reason, there's wonderful wines coming out of there. And it's truly one of the great wine growing regions in the world for that varietal. But it's a bit of a monoculture of crops out there. There's one varietal. And as I had been working throughout my career, mostly in Napa in the early stages, we kept on seeing these warmer and drier vintages year in and year out globally, but certainly in Northern California here. And I wanted to find areas that I thought could be successful for those varietals, but in slightly cooler areas. And that's what brought me over to Sonoma County. And I started searching for some of the best terroir, meaning best soils, best hillsides, best aspects in these slightly cooler areas. And coming over to the Sonoma side, the big difference is we get a lot of coastal influence over here. And so we're not too far from the Pacific Ocean as far as Sonoma County goes. As you get closer and closer to that cold body of water, which averages right around 53 degrees Fahrenheit, it gets quite cold. And then as you head further east into the hills, it can get warm during the day, but those nights really, really get cool. We can have 40, 50 degree swings from the heat of the day to the cool of the night. And to me, this kind of really embodied a lot of the things that I was looking for. And I think my global perspective of working all over the world at some of these great vineyards and wineries gave me a unique perspective to find these little areas that might have been overlooked or redeveloped, or I've taken over and changed up how we farmed. And when I started in these areas, there had never been a 100-point perfectly scored wine in the region's history. Napa Valley certainly has many for many years now, and intentionally wanted to kind of showcase what I thought could be one of the great wine growing regions in the world. And very thankful now we have 1,900-point wines from this region. No one else has ever done it. And really kind of separated ourselves by showcasing these amazing sites and in a little bit different style. And those cooler nights, those longer growing seasons still give all the beautiful elegance and richness that you see and love in California wines and Napa. But there's just a little bit more brighter acid. There's a little bit more nuance to these wines. And so it's a different take that has been really fun.
Oh, man. Well, I mean, I put a bigger smile on my face because you mentioned the word terroir. And I was reading your bio. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? So before I came on this, I had to look it up because I was like, what are some synonyms for that? Because can I pronounce it? So I went to the YouTube where they pronounced the word correctly. So anyways, I wanted to ask about, rewarding parts of the job. And it's funny, when I first thought about asking that question, is it as simple as when you see someone sipping your wine and you're like, dude, he or she has a smile on their face and you're so happy from just tasting it. Is that's
a huge
rewarding, or is it something more deep? Because you're pretty deep. You're like a little poet when you answer the question. So what's the most rewarding of the job?
That is a huge part of it, of seeing, what an honor that I have and my team has to be a part of people's sometimes everyday joy, but also sometimes people's biggest moments in life. And there's been so much times where I've had the biggest level of gratitude for my professional career, where people enjoyed a bottle of our wines at their anniversary, or they served it at their child's wedding, or they opened it up when their first child was born, like all these different things. And especially, people will buy wine from their child's vintage year. And so, 10 years later, we're like, oh, we opened this finally from our child's birth year. And so being part of people's most memorable moments, and also being that everyday moment when people are sitting down after a long, stressful day, and being able to sit down, put the phones down, which I always encourage people, and then replace that with a wine glass and have true conversation, connect, and be a small part of that is a really, really, there's a huge amount of gratitude that I have in that.
I love it. On the fly, while I'm talking to you, I've already thought what I'm going to do with our podcast. I'm going to make it 3 parts, because what I'm going to do, I know we're going to talk about the dorky medical. I'm so pumped up about it, but you do a great job in asking. So let me ask these 2 questions. Then I'm going to do dorky medical. And I'm telling you this on the fly. I'm going to make you a 3-part series, because this is going to be great. Are you pumped?
I trust you. Whatever you want to do, I'm with you.
I love it. So let me finish these 2 questions to have continuity in my questions. Okay. So you're also a wine consultant. And for someone who's super naive like me, what is the difference between winemaking and consulting? Is there a lot of overlap, or are these 2 opposite parts of your personality?
No, it's a great question. And I think there's a lot of different types of consultants within the wine world. For me, how I've done this is made sure that my consulting partners and other wines, I have full control over all the viticultural standpoints as far as how the grapes are grown, all winemaking, all my consulting clients. I make wine here at my own winery here at Aperture. So all my wines are made under one roof. So my entire team kind of can really dive into the uniqueness of these sites that we're working with, the uniqueness into the wines and the specific label. And so that's really where I consult on the winemaking and viticultural standpoint. Certainly they can use my name for branding and all that kind of stuff. But what's really nice is I really get to dive into why I got into this industry, make wines from a lot of different regions and areas, and sometimes varietal sets that are outside of what we're doing day to day. So it kind of expands our creativity. And then once that wine goes to bottle, it's, that individual brand can do what they like with it. And then it's kind of their sales strategy of how to get those wines to market and get those wines in people's glasses. And so it's been really fun to work with a lot of amazing vineyards, but also really creative people. And I've very fortunate at this stage of my career, I kind of get to pick and choose who I get to work with. And some of the people I get to work with are some of my best friends, some of the most creative people I know. And it's just been a great part of the joy of getting to continue to make wines for lots of different styles and lots of different people.
And dude, you're setting me up for my next question, because I did go to your website and researched you. So going into being a consultant, you're hooking up with Tony Hawk. I purchased his skateboard when I was a little kid.
I was a skater myself.
I
like one of my idols. I truly
having that Alpha board was the best.
Yeah. But no, that was incredible to make wine for like my idol as I was a kid. So that was incredible.
Now, and of course, I got to mention JT, Justin Timberlake. He doesn't know who the hell I am, but I just want to mention it. So my question to you is, I think it's kind of the trend that many celebrities kind of go into alcohol, whether we're talking about tequila or whatever it is. So why is that? Why is this the trend? Do you know? Did you ask Tony and Justin why are celebrities going into alcohol brands, particularly wine? What was their motivation behind it?
Well, so each one of these brands and projects you're talking about is a little bit different. And one of the key elements for myself, and I learned this through my family growing up, but was always giving back. And early stages of my career where I was broke and barely had enough money to pay for the next vintage of barrels, the only way we were able to really market the wines out there, certainly we had critical acclaim and all that kind of stuff, but we really started partnering with different charities. And we put together these unique charity lots, and they were starting to sell for big money. And we would get a lot of notoriety and following from people finding our wines because it would be the top lots within that charity's gala. And it was a great win-win scenario that it was helping me market, but it was also raising a lot of money for a lot of good. And so there was a brand that I started back in 2014 called The Setting Wines with 2 of my very dear friends who are really involved in the philanthropy world. And we wanted to create a label. One as our own wine, finding the best settings throughout Oregon, Napa, and Sonoma for our own wines, but also being the setting and the platform for, A-list celebrities, athletes, charities to create these one-of-a-kind labels and be able to use those to benefit a charity or foundation of their choice. So Tony Hawk, Ellen DeGeneres, Von Miller, the Lakers organization, all these individuals, usually it's about a barrel or two, so call it 300 bottles of wine. We just came out with one for the Navy SEAL Foundation, and it's a one-of-one wine. It's one vintage wine for these individuals. I make it all myself, of course, blend it all, sometimes incorporate Tony or someone else in the blending, and 100% of the proceeds of that go back to their charity of choice. Oh. And so the Tony Hawk one was really fun. And you'll see in the label, we have a frame there. We take that out and put the logo of that individual. So it's Tony on his skateboard, obviously, the one he uses, and his signatures on every single bottle. And we raised a ton of money for the Tony Hawk Foundation, which creates parks and skate parks around the world for kids. We've done stuff with Emerald Lagasse, the Ellen Fund, Vaughn's Vision. And so between those projects and some of the large auction lots that we've been able to put together through Aperture and Devil Proof and all my brands, we've raised over $6 million in the last 6 years for different charities. So that's been a really fun and exciting part of, talking about rewarding. There's nothing more rewarding than seeing a bottle of your wine go for a huge amount of money and see the reaction that causes for good.
I'm telling you, I don't know if you can see my questions. This is the perfect interview. I love it. The last one for this seg. Speaking of wines being sold for obscene amounts of money, I kind of read this, that there was a bottle of Cabernet, and I had to double check if my glasses were on correctly, sold for $1 million, and it set the world record for most expensive bottle of wine ever sold. So is that a true statement? And who the hell has the money to spend that on a bottle of wine?
Well, very true statement, and what an honor to be able to set that record, especially amongst a lot of the other wineries that I had previously studied at and worked at. It broke the record, and I think previously to that was Screaming Eagle, which I had worked at, and Petrus, where I had worked at. It was a one-of-a-kind bottle, and remember, 100% of this money went to charity, and this was at a big auction for Emerald Lagasse Foundation in New Orleans called Carnival de Vin. For the wine lovers out there, it is one of the great events. You should all go out there. First of all, you're out in New Orleans, which is such a fun place, but great food, great wine, and it's like a 3-day event. And you got Emerald and all these amazing world-class chefs flying in for this, wineries from all over. And 3 years prior to that, we'd sold a normal size bottle, a 750 milliliter bottle, for $350,000. And we had a lot of our top collectors in the room. So we knew we had the right clientele. And so we wanted to create a one-of-one bottle. So it was our first single vineyard wine, and the only 6-liter bottle. So it was a big boy bottle, all hand painted, hand etched. And we thought we had the right people in the room. The feeling in the room was great, and it got up to about $480,000 between 3 different bidders.
Oh, and man!
One of the bidders stood up and offered $1 million, and the whole crowd goes nuts. Everyone's going, and to the auctioneer's credit, they're like, "This is amazing. Can we get 1.1?" And no one says anything after that. But that's what set the record. Certainly made a lot of news within that realm. But also for the charity, what an impact that had to all the different children's organizations that the Emerald Fund helps out with on a global level. And I'll give you one more piece of the story that most people don't know with that bottle. The individual who purchased it called Chef Emerald and I up and said, "Hey, is it possible to open up this bottle of wine where the grapes came from in the middle of the vineyard and have Chef Emerald cook a meal while we enjoy it?" And so we got creative, and we ended up getting Emerald out there, Chef Dustin Villette, another world-class chef locally here, but all these amazing world-class chefs in the vineyard. And we did this big dinner, and we sold tickets and raised another $250,000 for the charity. Opened that bottle amongst a bunch of other amazing wines and had a whole dinner celebrating that. So that one bottle of wine actually raised $1.25 million.
Oh, man, that is a great story.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Dr. Raj Podcast. If you enjoy the show, then please make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app and leave a rating while you're there. This show is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. This has been a production of MedPrep to Go, and you can learn more at medprep2go.com.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. You know, one of the perks about having 4 kids that you know about is actually getting a direct line to the big man up north. Mm-hmm. And this year, he wants you to know the best gift that you can give someone is the gift of Mint Mobile's unlimited wireless for $15 a month. Now, you don't even need to wrap it. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.